Completing a marathon is something that you should be very proud of, and is a magnificent achievement for anyone to go out and do. And I would highly recommend every single person, if they can, to train up to do a marathon, because I think the mental and physical benefits that it gives you is something that you can carry on into everyday life, and it makes you, in my opinion, a much more fulfilled and happier person. Something that I believe everyone needs. And for me, exercise, well-being alongside a strong core around you is the key to happiness, and that's what I found in my life. But the idea of doing 7 marathons in 7 days is a completely different beast, and is frankly very stupid. So I'm going to try to really condense all the information for a runner that can help you try to achieve to do something endurance-based like this, or even just advice that can help someone that is not a runner, never really done a 5K, but you've been inspired to try to do something, and it can kind of get you on the right path of moving forward. The pillar stones of the right way to do things, in my opinion. I'm not an expert, and even though I've done 7 marathons in 7 days, I don't consider myself a pro, an ultramarathon runner. I still think I'm just a parkrun guy that got quite lucky. But I did it, and I did it because even though my body should not have been able to do it, because prior to training for this, I've never done 1 marathon and only ever done 2 half marathons. And even the day before I began this, I only ever done 1 marathon, and when I did that, I fell ill the day afterwards and was out for a week. I should have never completed this. My body held up for one way or another, and these are the disciplines that I stuck to that helped me get over the line. So that is why I'm doing this video. Again, recommend any person ever, if you've never run in your life. I didn't run at all till I was 21, 22. You know, I couldn't even run 2K. I couldn't even run a K and a half before gassing out and literally having to walk back home. My first ever run on Strava is back during COVID of 2020, and I literally ran 1K, I think a near 5-minute K, which is really quite fast for my first ever run, and then I walked back at a 14-minute K. That was my first ever run. I'm not a pro by any means, so I believe anyone can go from being a complete novice to go do a 5K, a 10K, a marathon. Any human can do that. So this is where I started off, and this is the advice I have for some people that may want to do something similar. I'm going to break this down to 3 separate parts here. Number 1 is the run itself. Number 2 is nutrition, and number 3 is recovery. Those are the main things. So let's do possibly what I think is the most important thing, which is recovery. For recovery, it is very easy, and that is simply, you need to stretch your muscles, mate. Okay, and it sounds really boring. It sounds boring to me, but if you're going to do something stupid like this, to do 1 marathon or to do 7 in a row, you need to stretch. Before and after every single run, you've got to stretch. You're going to keep your body warm. And what I did, because I did a marathon back to back to back to back, is that I, later on in that evening, also kept active and at least walking around. Adding on top of recovery, you need a foam roller. You need that alongside also stretching too. It just really highlights certain muscle groups that you can just really aim at and just get any sores out and just really wake them up. It just helps the blood flow and just keeps your muscles ticking along. Next thing with recovery is then with, most importantly, nutrition. When you're doing something like a marathon, endurance, or just one, you need to look at food as just purely fuel. Food is fuel. Now, what I based my entire run on is something that I found out just prior to before I began this, which was porridge. For me, my goal of life with this is porridge. I had porridge before I slept every single night, and I had porridge in the morning before I ran. We ran at around 7 o'clock each day, so therefore we woke up around 5:30. So I had porridge, slow burning carbs, and I made sure I carb loaded with that before I went to bed as well. And then alongside that, hydration throughout the entire day is so important. One run, I think it was day 4, that I didn't have that much water the day prior. I didn't really think about it, and I felt it the next day. What do you eat before you run? At least try to eat everything at least half an hour or 45 minutes before you go out for a run, just to make sure it's not still in your system, because I was already 2-3 days in. Basically, when you eat, it kind of feels like whatever you put into your system just gets evaporated almost immediately, because your body is just so desperate for any type of nutrition that it just gets used up immediately for energy, because energy is what food is. Calories is energy, and that is how you're going to see what food is when you're doing something endurance-based like this. Each morning I had a bowl of porridge, put a bit of golden syrup, jam, your own choice, do whatever you want, with 2 peanut butter toast and 1 banana. That was it. Get some water down you, and then you're good to go. Nutrition wise, after your run is very key. Instantly, as soon as you're done with your run, your body's desperate for protein because your muscles have been breaking down the entire time and it needs to rebuild immediately. I always had 2 protein bars in my bag as soon as I was done with my run. First thing in your system must be water and protein. That's what I just went with, and that's what I maintained with. Go home, you shower, a protein bar or 2, and then I've also a protein shake as well from My Protein. Not a sponsor, of course, but it's a protein shake alongside with that as well. And then you feel quite full because of the protein shake. Of course, have it with some oat milk. Same thing with the porridge too. I also had oat milk with it too. Oat milk with the protein powder. That works a treat, gets the protein in your system, and it starts really trying to rebuild your muscles, ready for the next day. And the weird thing when you do something like this is that because you're so desperate for energy, because you burn basically 2,500 calories by doing a marathon, and your body already burns, 2,000 calories around that by itself. So you also want to seek out 5,000 calories worth of food. So in theory, you can basically eat anything, and it doesn't really matter. But the better quality of the food, the better you get back in return. And basically for the entire day, you can kind of just keep eating. So if you want to have a kind of Red Bull to get your energy up, because again, my main issue with this was really energy. I was really tired, and I had to have basically if there's a can of Coke or there's a small kind of Red Bull, just kind of just keeping you ticking along. And whatever you put into your body, it kind of just goes away immediately. So it kind of didn't really matter what you ate. And now it's time for the run. So what did I do for the run to kind of break it down mentally, and also the food and drink that I had as well? So basically every single 4 kilometers, I had at least 3 or 4 sips of my water. So I had like a nozzle around me. I had a 1 liter pouch on my back. Every single 4K that I did, and I go 4 times, drink it down, and then put it back in, because I don't typically enjoy having too much water, too much in my system at once. I kind of feel like that means more stitches, and it kind of means that you kind of cramp up more, you just kind of feel more full, and you don't really want to run while feeling full. I just don't like that feeling. So that's how I broke it down. Every single 4K, got some water down you, make sure that you feel hydrated and your muscles get it, because you do feel that boost when you get it down each time. Same thing with gummies. So I had at least 5 gummies. I went to Decathlon. Decathlon, I think, is in every single country in Europe. I think also should be in America as well. Decathlon, they had these 5 little energy gummies. I'll show a picture right now, and also energy gel. So 5 of the gummies and 1 of the gels. So what I did was 5K, I had a gummy. 15K, had a gummy, and a half marathon, I had an energy gel. Then after that, you could do kind of 26, 27, kind of how you feel. If you feel like you need it a bit sooner, then you could do so. It kind of is based on kind of how you feel that point of the marathon. So what I typically did was around 26K, had a gummy, then about 33K, I had another one. And then if you really are feeling it for the last stretch, you could have one more at 38, 37K to get you over the line. But sometimes I didn't really need that, because typically around the 39, 40K mark, we kind of run very casually to the end, because we realized that we had another marathon the next day. So there's no point going all out now. So that's what we did. So that's how I brought down the actual food part and nutrition part of the run while it was happening. You may be completely new to this, but you kind of need that. You can't really do a half marathon properly, without any type of nutrition, because you're just not giving your body what it needs. Of course, if you know your body kind of has enough energy to store for at least 2 hours of exercise, then after that, it's basically using up your reserves, and that's when you really start draining your body of its energy. So that's what I did for nutrition. And then when it comes to the actual mental side of it, because the idea of doing a marathon, then thinking the next day I've got to do another marathon, is really daunting. So what I did mentally was split it down to 4 separate parts, which is basically 4 10Ks, 4 really easy 10Ks, and then the last 2K could be whatever you want. You could walk it, whatever you want. At that stage, you kind of don't care. Once you've done 40K, you've basically done the marathon. That's going to get over the line. So really, it was simply 3K run, 2-minute walk. 3K run, 2-minute walk. So let's say the first half of the marathon, you just need to do that 7 times, and then you're halfway through. And when you think of it like that, that's, in my mind, that's what made it really seem quite easy. So that I'm not really thinking about doing a half marathon or doing a marathon. I'm thinking about just doing this next 3K. And then you finish with it, you walk, you feel like you've done with that stage. Then you just got to think, just go run 3K again. And you got to think about it in that way, so that by the time you kind of done it for 2-3 hours, you're already at the business end of the marathon. It was 3K run, 2-minute walk, and then the second half marathon was 2K run and 2-minute walk. So basically that still kept us on time for about a 4-hour marathon. Our pace for the actual running parts was still within the 5s for the long chunk of it, other than the last 2 days, as you kind of really feel the fatigue at that stage in your muscles. But for the first 4 or 5 days, I was still running basically a 5:15, 5 8:05, you know, a very casual speed. I was just doing a pace that I felt like was really just easy. I wasn't pushing myself, and I feel like I could just keep doing all day. And any pains you felt, I felt like they didn't get any worse after the 2K run. If you just really kind of like split it up in that regard, I feel like any muscles or any injuries or any sores that I had didn't get any worse, because it kind of stayed and maintained the same level thanks to the walks that we had as well. So that's basically how we did it. That's how I did it. I stayed disciplined, that I woke up about 5:30 each day, and I went to bed at around 8:30 to at least 9 each day. You need at least 8 hours of sleep, minimum 7. You just need sleep. Sleep is the most important factor. Recovery, you can have all the food you want, you can have all the foam rolling and stretching you want, but without sleep, your body will not recover in anywhere near as efficient. So good sleep is vitally key, and that's why we went to bed by 8:30 to 9, basically every single night, other than the second to last day, which was Vienna, as it was basically our last day really to do this, and we kind of just wanted to enjoy the night. But I still got at least 8 hours sleep. It just meant that I did a marathon a bit later than I typically would have. In terms of equipment, you don't really need much. Just a bag with your water pouch, some little like pockets to put your stuff into. I typically held my phone for each run. I've not got a Garmin watch, and I kind of my friend did. He had a Garmin watch, and his GPS was always behind me and went further and further back each K we went. So I just used my phone. I just kind of held it. It's not ideal. I can put it inside my pocket here if I knew the route, but because I had to follow the pre-planned map that we got on Strava, I kind of always had to look down on it anyway, so I just held it throughout each marathon. My shoes were Asics Gel 06. These aren't exactly shoes that you really would know. I mean, you know Asics, but this specific 06, it's not really that well known or popular, but it was the only Asics gels that was in my local Decathlon. I think these cost me 70, 80 quid, and they've held up very well. These have been cleaned afterwards, so I'll show you a picture of what they were as soon as I was done with the marathons. So this may not look as dirty as what they were, but how these held up and didn't give me a single blister, I'll never know. Again, very comfortable shoes, and I owe these my life. Okay, so I went on Twitter to go and ask you guys for any questions you may have, and I will just answer some here that you guys have sent in. So question is, how do you do 7 marathons in a row? By being basically brain dead. I was speaking to my friend, because my friend that I did it with, he did 3 in a row, and he had some blisters. He had some real bad problems with his feet. It was really painful. He had to rip, I think, 2 of his toenails off. It wasn't great. So he had to stop at 3. But even now, even after doing that, his legs are still really bad now. Yesterday, I did a 10K run, and I did a personal best. I did a 41:25 second 10K, which is actually, still really fast, considering I literally just did 7 marathons in a row 6 days prior. I'm going to hit the sub 40 probably, hopefully soon, when my left foot is completely back to normal. But I don't know how I've done it really. Mentally, you've just got to be a bit brain dead. That's what I say. Like, to kind of just be so you're going to be kind of so numb to pain and kind of the soreness and fatigue of it all to kind of just keep going forward. You've literally just got to break it down into the most simple factor of you're running 2K, then you're walking a bit, and that is all you got to think about, and just keep doing it. And then eventually you kind of tick along the Ks and you tick along the time, and then you kind of nearly already there. That's the only way that I could possibly explain it. You've got to be a bit brain dead to just keep going. And that's kind of what I did and what I thought made sense for me. Next one is, how do you fuel during the marathons? I've already went through that, but basically I had 1 gel and 5 gummies, maybe usually 4, but 5 on hand. And I split it up into what I said prior. So go into that. How do you progressively improve your running distance? Well, that's the issue with me. If you look at my Strava, I wasn't exactly doing distances that really meant that I should have been able to do this. Again, I literally ran my first marathon in late January solo, just going out and doing it by late Jan, which is a month and a half before I did my 7 marathons in a row. It's not exactly ideal. It's not what any person that knows running would tell you to do. It's not exactly smart, but if you look at my activities over the last year here, it doesn't look like someone that would go out and do this much, right? So I didn't run once on Strava for literally 4 or 5 months. That's because I was in football season. I didn't feel the need to because I was already training 2-3 times a week and playing football 2-3 times a week for an actual 11-a-side football team. So I didn't feel like I had to do the extra running when I was already running on a Tuesday, and on a Monday, on a Thursday, and playing football on Saturday and Sunday as well. I didn't feel the need to. So that's why I still stayed fit, but I wasn't running. Which I guess I am, but not in the way you are for marathons. Then it's here which I started running properly outdoors. I got a treadmill there that I was running in the winter, because in the winter in Poland it's really, really like icy, cold as hell, and snowy. So I ran on treadmill for the winter. But again, I did really no more than 10k, 5, 7, 10ks. Again, nothing that should mean that you should be doing something as stupid as this. So this doesn't look like the activities of a person that can do 7 in a row. And this is, of course, the week that I did the 7 in a row. So, yeah. How to improve it? I would say have more training than what I did. Obviously, again, at least get quite a few half marathons underneath your belt, which is at least I had that beforehand. Half marathons, get like a few 30Ks, and at least do at least one marathon like what I did, to at least understand what it does to your body, and kind of get used to that feeling of when you're still in that 30k and you feel like it really sucks, just to kind of keep going and keep going. Should I solely train for marathon pace and distance, or should I incorporate HIIT? So that's basically high intensity training, right? So basically, I mean, mileage is key to do something like this, like an endurance based thing like this. Mileage is key. But again, as you just saw, I didn't train that well for this. So, again, that may not mean much coming from me. But, again, yeah, don't train for speed when you aim to do a marathon, because even though it helps, keeps you fit, it's not exactly what would matter in that final 10K. So, simply put, make sure that you understand that your legs, or you can get used to a half marathon, get used to a 30k. And the best thing about running that I enjoyed was simply each run you did, you felt better, you felt like you could go further, you felt like you were faster, and you felt improvement every single time you went out. And that's what really got me into running, because I mean, it felt like a never-ending improvement, and that was seriously addictive for me. This is the key one that I want to look at here. How do you find the motivation to do it? I've wanted to run for ages, but I haven't built up the motivation to. And that is the hardest part, really, because to start, it kind of sucks, right? To go from someone that has never run before to the idea of just going to go do a 5k or something is quite daunting. Very daunting, actually, because really most people can't go from nothing when you're eating quite poorly, you're going out drinking, to going out to do a run. Most people probably can't go out and do a K and a half, 2K without having to stop, without having to like slow down and take some deep breaths. And that's completely normal. I did the exact same. I'm not a pro by any means. I really am not. I was the exact same, if not worse. So I must reiterate here, please start with little steps, so that you can achieve them, so that they're achievable. So don't think about doing a 5K. Think about just doing a K without stopping. And can you do a K without having to stop? Doesn't matter how slow you are going. You can do a 7-minute K for your first ever K. It doesn't matter. Can you do a K without stopping? Can you do that? Great. Can you do 2? Can you do 2K without stopping? And then you can break it, and then you could break that little thing down again and say, okay, can I do that 1K a minute faster than I did before? So can you go from doing a 7-minute K to now doing a 6-minute K? That's more than possible for anyone too, but you got to just kind of work it down, and then you may hit that and you're like, okay, can I go do a 3K without stopping? And you will. Like, your body reacts and adapts to things so well, more than you could ever believe. The final one here is a kind of personal question, which is, am I planning on doing it again in the future? Probably not 7 marathons in a row, because I don't think I need to do that again, but I want to go and this year tick off a few things. I want to do a major like events marathon, if that's the London Marathon or Manchester Marathon. I want to do like a kind of major marathon in the UK. I'm going to see if I can do that with MS Society. I want to also do a 100k run, which I think is going to be incredibly hard, but clearly from doing this, my legs can handle doing it, but can it do it all at once, the 100k at once? I want to try to get my body a bit better. I want to do a 50k soon, which I think that should be more than fine. That'd be easy enough to do, and then work my way up into doing a couple of 50ks, do maybe a 60 odd, just do a plan just to run out for the day, just go somewhere, then run back and see how I do. But yeah, 100k run is something that I want to plan out to do in the summer. and then a Ironman. A triathlon is something which I never thought of ever, but the idea of it gets me quite excited. So I want to go do an Ironman. There's a one in Italy in late September at Emilia Romagna, and I really want to go out and do that. So that's my advice. Thanks for being here. And yeah, if you want more of these kind of running updates in terms of what I'm doing, then ask for that. Then let me know down below. So I'll see you next time. Bye.